As the hum of the USS Voyager's engines filled the bridge, the crew was engaged in a heated discussion about Q. "I don't trust him," Tom Paris said, his voice tinged with irritation. "Every time he shows up, it's trouble." "I must concur, Mr. Paris," Tuvok added, his expression stoic. Suddenly, the lights flickered and a familiar figure appeared in a burst of sparkling energy. "Did I hear my name?" Q, the omnipotent and mischievous being from the Q Continuum, asked with a grin. Janeway frowned, crossing her arms. "Q, what do you want this time? We're busy." "Busy?" Q feigned offense, placing a hand over his heart. "Surely you can spare a moment for little old me?" Tuvok raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Your presence has rarely proven to be beneficial, Q. If you have no legitimate reason for being here, we request that you leave." Q smirked, glancing between Janeway and Tuvok. "Oh, I have a reason, all right. A very important one, in fact. But I must say, I'm hurt that you all seem to think so little of me." 7 of 9 chimed in, her voice firm and steady. "Your past behavior has given us sufficient cause for concern, Q." "Indeed," Janeway agreed, narrowing her eyes. "Now, either tell us what you want or leave us be." Q sighed dramatically, feigning disappointment. "Very well, Captain. You see, I've come to warn you about something rather unsettling." "And what would that be?" Janeway asked, suspicion clear in her voice. Q leaned in, a grave expression on his face. "The disappearance of me." Janeway seemed confused. "What do you mean you're missing? You're right here." Q sighed again. "It's not me, per se. It's another version of myself. My past self, to be exact. He's looking for me, or rather, his future self. It's all rather complicated, you see." Janeway considered the implications. "And how exactly do you plan to find yourself?" Q grinned, a mischievous glint in his eye. "With your help, of course." Janeway hesitated, weighing her options. She knew that dealing with Q was always a gamble, but if the Continuum was in turmoil, it could have far-reaching consequences. With a sigh, she made her decision. "Very well, Q. We'll help you, but on one condition," she said, her voice firm. Q raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh? And what might that be, Captain?" "You will not interfere with my crew or this ship while we assist you. Understood?" Q rolled his eyes but nodded in agreement. "Fine, fine. I promise not to cause any mischief while we search for me." Janeway turned to her crew, her voice full of authority. "Tuvok, 7, Tom, I want you all to assist Q in his investigation. Look for any anomalies, energy signatures, or anything else that might help us locate him." The 3 officers nodded in unison, acknowledging her orders. Janeway then turned her attention back to Q, her gaze unwavering. "And remember, Q," she warned, "I'll be watching you closely. Don't try anything." Captain Janeway glanced around the briefing room, noting the determined expressions of her crew members. Tuvok, 7 of 9, Tom Paris, Harry Kim, and B'Elanna Torres sat around the table, prepared to discuss their plan of action for assisting Q. The omnipotent being stood to the side, his typical mischievous demeanor absent, replaced by a serious look that Captain Janeway had never seen before. "Q, what information do you have on the last known whereabouts of your future self?" she asked, her tone firm. Q sighed, crossing his arms. "He was last seen in the vicinity of the Debris Nebula, but after that, nothing. It's as if he vanished into thin air." Tuvok raised an eyebrow. "Given your past behavior, we must exercise extreme caution while assisting you, Q." Captain Janeway nodded in agreement. "Your help is conditional. Don't forget that." The crew discussed potential risks and dangers associated with helping Q, as well as the benefits of solving the mystery. 7 of 9 chimed in with her idea. "Analyzing temporal disturbances could provide a trail to follow." B'Elanna and Harry exchanged glances before Harry spoke up. "We can modify Voyager's sensors to detect these disturbances. That should help us track him down." Captain Janeway considered their proposal before approving their plan. "All right, team, let's get to work. Tuvok, you'll oversee the modifications with B'Elanna and Harry. Tom, you'll be in charge of coordinating the search with 7. Q interrupted, grinning mischievously. "I insist on accompanying 7 and Tom during their search. After all, who better to identify my future self than me?" Tom rolled his eyes and 7's expression remained stoic, but the annoyance was evident. Janeway's gaze turned stern. Q, if you cause any trouble, our agreement is off. With a dismissive wave of his hand, Q replied, "Of course, Captain. You have my word." In the dimly lit astrometrics lab, 7 of 9, Tom Paris and Q huddled around the main console, scanning for temporal disturbances using the data from the modified sensors. Flickers of light danced across their focused faces as they sifted through the information. "The trail of temporal disturbances is faint but discernible," 7 announced, her fingers expertly navigating the console. Q frowned, his brow furrowing. "These disturbances are unusual." Tom eyed him warily. "Q, do you have any idea what could be causing these disturbances?" Q hesitated before admitting, "I'm not certain, but it could be something even beyond my understanding." 7 and Tom exchanged a concerned look. Tom's voice wavered as he asked, "Is it worth the risk to follow this trail?" Q's expression turned serious, his eyes pleading. "We must find my future self, no matter the risks." Tom hesitated, but ultimately agreed to inform Captain Janeway about their findings. As the team relayed their discovery to the captain, they could sense her weighing the risks against the potential rewards. "Captain, we've found a lead, but it may be more dangerous than we anticipated," Tom explained, his voice tense. Silence hung in the air as Captain Janeway considered her decision. She knew that delving further into the mystery of Q's disappearance would put her crew in harm's way, but turning back might mean abandoning their only chance to solve the puzzle. Finally, Captain Janeway's voice came through the comm system, firm and resolute. "I trust your judgment. Proceed with caution and keep me updated on your progress." In the upcoming episode of Star Trek Voyager, the crew faces their greatest challenge yet as they encounter a hostile entity that threatens to destroy their ship.